Welcome to the tour of the Daily Project. In this video, I will guide you through the workflow and the basics to get you started in no time to manage your projects. When you first start the Daily Project, make sure to select your preferred language. We'll be adding more and more languages in the near future. If you haven't done so already, create a new account first. It only takes a few seconds. All you need is your email address and a password, nothing else required. So let's get started. First, we'll take a quick look at the structure of the Daily Project. The top of the screen is made up of the navigation bar, where you can jump to the different sections. On the top left, the blue icon brings you back to the home dashboard, where we are currently located. This is a great place to start your day and see what's important. Next up is the Projects area, the core of the program. This is where you manage all your projects and group them up. The three smaller buttons are quick access links to your most important pillars. More about that later. The other big part of the Daily Project is the Categories area. This is a completely separate task manager to manage all your to-dos which are not related to projects and fit better into categories. The Today and Overdue buttons link to the tasks which are either behind in schedule or due today, and you can also set up and manage recurring tasks. Whenever you need to find something quickly, we've built in a global search function that finds anything in your data instantly. Whether you're searching for projects, categories, tasks, notes, it's all here, just a click away. The right side of the navigation bar consists of the Help section, where you can find useful information on how to handle the program and the settings where you can customize the Daily Project to your personal needs. Your selected view will be shown in the main area in the center of the screen. This is where the actual work gets done. Finally, at the bottom of the screen, you'll find the status bar, where you will see notifications and additional controls like the global stopwatch settings, trash, archive, and logout. Let's start to add some projects. Clicking on the Projects button in the navigation brings us to the main project screen. It's still empty, and it asks us to create a new pillar. So what exactly is a pillar? In the Daily Project, a pillar is basically a container or a group for your projects. Think of it like pillars in the real world. They are tall and consist of stones stacked on top of each other. Here, our pillars are stacks of projects, which can also be referred to as stones. To make it a bit clearer, let's start by adding some pillars and projects. First, we click the Add New Pillar area in the center of the screen to create our very first pillar. We now have the option to add more pillars either to the left or right side, so let's do that. In case you want to change the order, just drag them in the title area and move them around. You can rename a pillar by right-clicking the title. Now that we have pillars, let's fill them with some projects. Click the center of the pillar to bring up the New Project dialog. You can assign it to any pillar you want and set your start and end date. Not all projects need deadlines, but we'll get into that later. You can also make the projects minimized if they're not important yet, and we'll see how that looks in just a bit. Project heights are usually relative to their length in time, but in case you want to change it, you can do that here. To add more projects, use the top left plus sign, and we'll add a few more to fill the pillar. If we add a project that has a future start date, it will be shown differently in the pillar and indicate the scheduled start. Projects are automatically arranged by date. Feel free to move them around to change the order. Let's say corporate identity is not our priority right now, so we can minimize it either by setting the minimized checkmark in the project dialog or simply by clicking the icon in the top left corner. Not all projects have deadlines. If you want to set up an Infinity project, simply right-click on the project to bring up the dialog and deselect the deadline option. As we are adding pillars, you can now see that the 3 buttons below the Projects button in the navigation have been filled. Those are quick access buttons to each pillar. We can customize which pillar we want by right-clicking each button and selecting our favorite. To rename a project, simply bring up the dialog with the right click and enter a new name. Our project screen is still a bit empty, so let's jump ahead and look at a more complete setup so you can get an idea of what to expect. Now we have 5 pillars with fully active projects. Let's go through the information here. First, let's revisit the concept of pillars. As you can see, we have 5 pillars which group up the projects in context, so it's easier for you to manage specific areas at once. You can see how many projects, or stones, are building a pillar. Then we have colours. Looking at the pillar on the left, you can see green, red and yellow. Green means you're on track to meet your deadline. Yellow means it's getting problematic. And red means that you will miss the deadline unless you prioritise and increase the speed of completion here. This is a great way to help you make decisions on where to focus. The projects have a progress bar, which you can see by the darker colour and the percentage sign on the bottom. The last 2 projects on the left pillar are already completed and therefore pushed to the bottom with a check mark. We talked earlier about projects without a deadline, and here's an example. It will appear in slightly darker green and will not change colours. If you have a red project with an exclamation mark in there, it's a problem. That means this project has already missed its deadline and is overdue. This should be the absolute priority now. Inside the project status bar, you can see either a T or an S in red or blue. They stand for tasks and sub-projects, which are due today in blue or overdue in red. So now that we know how to create and organise pillars and projects, how do we fill them with tasks? Let's create another project to go through the basics. Enter a project by clicking on it. Here we are in the Inside Project view. On the left you can see the pillar it belongs to, with all the other projects greyed out. You can easily switch between projects in this pillar by clicking on them. So let's add some tasks. We can either use the plus sign on the top right or the text box on the top to do so. Tasks can have nested subtasks. To add a subtask, click the plus sign on the left side of any task. You can also add subtasks with the correct title directly from the text field, so you don't have to rename them later. Simply select the task you want to nest them under and change the entry mode at the top from New Task to Subtask by clicking the button with the arrow down. You'll notice the reference task gets marked, and now you can type and add the subtasks. The same works for nesting a subtask below another subtask. Top-level tasks with subtasks in the daily projects are called sub-projects. You can collapse and expand individual nested tasks with the arrow down button on the task itself, or use the arrow on the top right to expand or collapse all tasks in the current project. To rename any task, simply right-click the task title and type in the new name. Now let's change the project start and end date to showcase the change of progress better. The project turned red now, as the start date is a few weeks ago and we haven't completed anything yet. To complete a task, simply click the check mark. and you'll notice how both the progress bars on the project and the colour will change according to the progress relative to the deadline. Completing a task will also auto-complete all the nested subtasks. Next, we want to assign due dates to some of our tasks. To do so, simply click on the empty grey area on the right side of the tasks and pick a date using the Date Picker. You'll see how the project shows a blue S, which means a sub-project is due. Remember, top-level tasks with nested subtasks are referred to as sub-projects. In the daily project, blue always refers to due today, while red always refers to overdue. The overdue tasks will show the amount of days overdue, in this case 3, and future due dates will indicate how many days are left. Now that we know the basics of adding tasks, let's jump straight into another project in the same pillar. You see a few more icons on the tasks, and we'll go through all that in a bit. But first, we start with basic navigation. You can use your keyboard to navigate the tasks, as well as collapse and expand the subtasks. Simply select a task by clicking on it, and then move up and down with the arrow keys. To expand a task with subtasks, press the right arrow key, and the left arrow key on the task collapses its children. Moving tasks is simple too. Let's create one to move around. You can simply drag a task to a new position, and an arrow key on the left side will show you where it will drop, either under the task or inside. If the arrow is in the center of the task, it will drop as a subtask. We can also move tasks with the keyboard. Here we're on a Mac, so we'll use the Command key and the up and down arrow keys. On Windows and Linux, use the Control key and the arrow keys. Every time you see the Command key used in this video and you're not on Mac, simply use the Control key instead. Copy and paste works just like you would expect. Select a task and press Command key and C, and you'll see a marker around the task. Now select a reference task where you want to paste it, and Command key and V will paste it under the selected task. Cut and paste works just the same, using Command key and X. You can copy and cut tasks with their whole tree of subtasks if you want. Now we've already seen the project's changing progress when completing tasks, but the same works for tasks with subtasks. Here we're checking off a few subtasks, and notice how the parent task's progress changes as well. This is very useful if you have all the tasks collapsed, as you can immediately see the progress of the subtasks without expanding the whole tree. Let's add some notes to the tasks. You'll notice some of the tasks have a paper icon on the right side. Those have a note attached. To add a note, simply mouse over the right side of the task and the paper icon changes to a pen. Clicking it will open the notes. If you need more space, simply enlarge the area. Close the note by clicking the icon again or pressing Escape. Now we want to add some tags to our tasks. Click the tag icon on any task and enter the tag name, then confirm with Enter. You can also select previously used tags from a drop-down list. Notice that you can't add tags twice, as shown here. To remove a tag, simply right-click the tag directly on the task. Tags make it very easy for you to filter tasks. We'll do that later. OK, so now we have our tasks and subtasks, and we can start managing them. But sometimes we have to be really strict and make sure things get done in the exact order. For this, we will use sequential tasks. Pick any task which has a number of subtasks and press the S icon. S stands for sequential. Note that there is a confirmation dialog. When some of the tasks are completed out of order, it will be adjusted. Once you press Convert, you'll notice how the look of the tasks changes. There is only one task active, and it's the only one you can actually mark as completed now. Once you do, the next task becomes active. Notice how on the right side the tasks are now numbered in order. As you can see, it's not possible to change the completion status of tasks which are not the active one. You can add some colours to your tasks to prioritise them or mark things that are important to you. First, let's deactivate the sequential tasks again. To change the colour of a task, click the leftmost area of the task and select one of the colours which will pop out. Colours can be very useful as you can filter the tasks by them. Before we introduce the filters, let's talk about stopwatches. On many occasions, it's necessary to track your time working on a task. Maybe you're a freelancer and get billed by the hour, or it's just important that you keep track of how much time has been put into each task. To add a stopwatch to a task, click the stopwatch icon on one of the tasks and select Start. This will create a new stopwatch for the task, starting at 0. You can see the stopwatch appearing left of the icons. To quickly pause or continue a stopwatch, simply right-click on the stopwatch area. When you're finished, you can either select Finish from the stopwatch dialog or just complete the task. When you complete a task, the stopwatch will be automatically stopped and marked as finished. The stopwatch will be shown in 3 colours. Red means it's running, grey means it's paused, and green shows a finished stopwatch. If you forgot to start it or just want to adjust the time on a certain stopwatch, simply select the Edit button and either enter a new time or adjust it with the buttons. At the top of the task list, you see another stopwatch. This is the project-wide stopwatch, which combines all stopwatches present in this project. To get an overview of all the individual stopwatches in this project, simply click on it and a summary will pop up. As you might have stopwatches in multiple projects or even in the categories, you can open the Global Stopwatch Summary, which is located in the status bar. As long as there is one running stopwatch in your whole program, it will show in red. Here you see all the stopwatches from both projects and categories. You can filter by status at the top, by project or category on the left, start or stop them all, or handle them individually, just like you did in the tasks. Now let's talk about the ways to filter your tasks. First, we switch the sequential tasks back on, so we can include those in the filters. On the top of the tasks, you see the filters. Let's filter out all the sequential tasks. We can now focus on what we're working on right now. To disable a filter, simply press it again. Next, we will filter by stopwatches. Let's show all the running stopwatches. Looks like we don't have any right now, so we'll quickly activate one by right-clicking and use the filter again. The same applies to the paused and finished stopwatch filter. Now let's filter by overdue tasks, so we can finally get rid of those tasks on which you are behind. Note that if a filtered task is nested below another, it will still show the parent task, so you know where it belongs to, even if the parent doesn't match the filter. Filtering by tasks due today works just the same, so you can see your work for the day. You can show all tasks scheduled for future within a certain time frame with the future filter. The color filter is very useful to filter by your very own customizations. You can not only combine those color filters, you can combine any filter you want. If you want a clearer view of the tasks, you can switch off the tags with the tag icon. To filter tasks by text, simply use the search box on the top left side. Notice that this search applies both for the task title as for the tags. So it's a great way to filter by custom tags. As pillars are used to group projects together, let's get an overview of how we're doing for the whole pillar. Click on the statistics icon at the top and it will jump to the statistics screen. These statistics apply to all the projects inside of the current pillar. You can also reach this by clicking on the pillar title. Remember the pillar shortcuts we've set at the very beginning? You can use those to quickly jump to an overview with the statistics for your favourite pillars, and from there, easily jump into the projects. So all this time we've been talking about pillars and projects and navigated only in the project view. What do we need categories for? Categories represent a completely separate task manager in the classic sense, where the tasks are organised by categories instead of pillars and projects. While a lot of tasks are part of a project, not all of them fit there. Many tasks just stand on their own, and while they can be grouped and categorised, projects might not make sense there, as a project is usually something with a start and end date. So consider this as a separate manager for all those things that either don't fit in projects or that you simply don't want there. It's just great to have them all in one place together, so you don't need to switch apps for tracking those. Below the main button you can see the link for today, which shows how many tasks in the categories are due today, overdue, which shows how many tasks you failed to do on their due date, and recurring, where you can set up recurring tasks. Let's jump into it and take a look. As you can see, the right task area looks the same as it does in the projects. The functionality for the tasks is basically identical. If you know how to handle your project tasks, you'll have no problems here. On the left side, instead of a pillar full of projects, we now have a list of categories. The blue number on the right shows the amount of tasks due today in that category, while the red number stands for the overdue tasks. Let's add a new category. Just like the projects and pillars, simply drag it around to move its position and rename it with a right click. Now we could start adding tasks, just like in the projects. We'll not go over the handling of the tasks here. It's exactly the same as the project tasks. All the same filters are available too. In the navigation bar, under Categories, you can see the Today and Overdue buttons, with numbers in blue and red respectively. The numbers are referring to the amount of due tasks today and overdue tasks in all categories combined, as you can see here on the left side. Clicking the Today link, it will bring up a view with the tasks due today from all the categories, and the related category is shown here on the task. The Overdue filter works exactly the same way. Now let's talk about recurring tasks. The button in the navigation brings us to the Recurring Tasks screen. Here you can create and manage all the recurring tasks for each category. As you can see, we currently have 3 recurring tasks in the Personal category. Let's take a look. On the right side, where the normal tasks have their date field, we find the information about the recurring cycles. When we move the mouse over the field, we get additional information for the next occurrence and the end date if set. We're going to create a new recurring task in the Travel category. Just like the normal tasks, you can add them either by using the text field or the plus button. Now we're adding the name and we can set the start date, but we'll just leave it at today so it will spawn right away. We'll pick an end date far away and we can use the calendar's month and year jump to get there very quickly. Just set the interval period and we're done. As you can see, it just created a new recurring task with our specific settings. Let's head back to the Today filter to see if it got added. And there it is, at the bottom. Okay, so now we've talked about how to easily see the tasks for due today and overdue in the categories, but what about projects? Those have due tasks as well. Let's quickly head back to the projects to take a look. Inside the project view, we can see the indication for overdue and due tasks as well as sub-projects on the project itself. But when we jump into the project, we see a lot of overdue tasks here. So how do we see all those tasks filtered out nicely that we can act on it? This brings us back to where we started, the Home dashboard.
When we started the app for the first time, it was obviously empty as we didn't enter any data yet. Let's head back over there again. The home dashboard is now filled, and it's a great place to start your day. It filters out all the important information, and it helps you decide what to tackle first. As you can see on the left side, 3 pillars are shown. We have 5 pillars in total, but the ones shown here are our selected favorites, the ones we set up earlier in the navigation under Projects. You'll notice that all the projects are grayed out, and only the red ones are shown in color to amplify the meaning of a critical status. Remember, a red project means you're going to miss the deadline unless you make some extra effort or adjustments. A great way to filter them out quickly. Moving the mouse over the pillar titles will put the color back to the projects so you can still get an idea how the rest looks like. Now, on the right side, there we have the summary of the tasks due today and overdue from all of our projects. This way, they're always easily accessible right from the start. But which projects do they belong to? You can enable the Project Origin label on the top of each container. Another way to show the project origin is to move the mouse over a certain task, and the corresponding project on the left will be automatically highlighted, while all the others will be grayed out. This way you can easily spot where the task is coming from. It works the same way for the projects. If you want to know which tasks are due in a specific project, move the mouse over the projects and the tasks on the right side will get filtered. Of course, clicking a task will jump you directly to the project, with the selected task expanded into view and pre-selected. Now that we know how to manage our projects and categories, we need to learn how to find things quickly, especially if we don't remember where it is. That's where the global search comes into play. The search bar in the center of the navigation lets you instantly find anything, anywhere. You can search for projects, categories, pillars, tasks, recurring tasks, or inside notes and tags. Let's try it. You can navigate the results with the arrow keys or use the mouse for scrolling. We can find text in tags, as you can see here. The search even looks inside notes. You can change the search priority in the settings and also exclude certain parts of the program from searching if you don't need the results there. And just like you would expect, clicking an element will jump you right to it. In order to navigate the app quickly, you can also use the shortcuts. As we like to forget those quickly, you can enable an on-screen overlay, which displays the available shortcuts for every single screen. To show the shortcuts, either use the button on the status bar or press the Option key on the Mac. Windows and Linux users can use the Alt key. The available shortcuts will show on the screen. Let's go back to the home screen using a shortcut. Notice that you don't need any modifier key, just press the single key. Now let's go to Projects. You'll see that you have an option here for left or right pillar. The favorite pillars are accessed by the numbers 1 to 3. You can of course customize all those shortcuts in the settings. If you quit the program or restart your computer, don't worry about forgetting your stopwatches. You'll get a chance to manage and stop them if you wish to do so. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the daily project.